The 1980s were a turbulent era for Africa. Many nations had gained independence, but colonial influence lingered. Borders drawn by Europeans divided ethnic groups and fueled instability. Economic struggles were everywhere. African economies depended on exporting raw materials at unfair prices. Expensive imports and mounting national debts kept nations poor. Corruption and mismanagement by new elites deepened inequality. Millions lacked access to basic services like clean water and education. Frustration grew as the promise of freedom felt incomplete. People yearned for genuine independence and leaders who would fight for them. A powerful desire for change swept the continent. New voices began to emerge, challenging the status quo. These figures offered hope and a different path forward. Among them was Thomas Sankara. He appeared at a critical moment. His vision would inspire a generation. Africa was ready for transformation. Upper Volta, a small, landlocked nation nestled in the heart of West Africa, faced immense challenges. Its geographical position rendered it vulnerable, and it was consistently ranked among the world's poorest nations, grappling with widespread destitution and limited resources. Frequent and devastating droughts coupled with infertile land left the vast majority of its people trapped in a cycle of deep and unrelenting poverty, struggling to meet even their most basic needs. The country relied heavily and almost entirely on foreign aid, becoming dependent on external assistance for survival. Upper Volta also suffered from chronic political instability, with governments rising and falling in quick succession. Military coups were a disturbingly common occurrence, disrupting any semblance of progress and stability. For many, the future looked bleak and hopeless, with little prospect of improvement on the horizon. But into this environment of despair and uncertainty emerged Thomas Sankara, a figure who would challenge the status quo. He was a young, charismatic military officer, distinguished by his intelligence and unwavering commitment to his people. He spoke with a rare passion and conviction, captivating audiences with his powerful message of change. Sankara led by example, rejecting personal wealth and power, choosing instead a life of simplicity and service. Sankara envisioned a self-sufficient, truly independent nation, free from the shackles of foreign influence and exploitation. Above all, he believed deeply in the inherent dignity and strength of his people, recognizing their potential for greatness. He openly and fiercely criticized corruption, which he saw as a major impediment to progress and development. Sankara also challenged foreign domination, advocating for a more equitable relationship with the rest of the world. His powerful message resonated deeply with the youth, who saw in him a leader who understood their aspirations. He became a voice for the marginalized, giving hope to those who had long been ignored and forgotten. Sankara inspired a sense of hope, making people believe that real and lasting change was indeed possible, even in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. Unlike typical military leaders, who often sought power for personal gain, he was an intellectual and a revolutionary thinker, deeply committed to social justice and equality. He was driven by a profound love for his country and its people, a love that fueled his desire for radical transformation. Sankara aimed to empower ordinary citizens, giving them a voice in their own governance and development. His goal was not just to seize power, but to fundamentally reshape society. He wanted to fundamentally change how his country was governed, creating a more just and equitable system for all. His unique vision and unwavering commitment to his ideals set him apart from the leaders of his time. Sankara was ready to lead a revolution that would transform Upper Volta forever. Thomas Sankara was born in 1949 in Yako, Upper Volta. His father, a gendarme in the French colonial army, provided the family with some stability. This gave Thomas access to education, a rare privilege. He attended primary and secondary school, standing out as a thoughtful and observant student. His mother, Marguerite Kinda, connected him to traditional values and rural life. Through her, he witnessed the struggles and resilience of ordinary people. Sankara saw both the comfort of privilege and the hardship of poverty. These experiences shaped his empathy and sense of justice. He questioned the inequalities he saw around him. The blend of privilege and exposure to hardship was formative. It gave him a unique perspective on his society. These early lessons fueled his desire for change. Sankara's awareness of injustice would guide his future. Sankara excelled academically, known for his sharp intellect and curiosity. He devoured books on history, philosophy, and politics, always seeking deeper understanding. Debates with peers about Africa's problems sharpened his thinking. During these years, he encountered Marxist and Pan-Africanist ideas. He read Marx, Engels, and the works of leaders like Nkrumah and Lumumba. These thinkers inspired him to see Africa's struggle as part of a larger fight for liberation. He connected theory with the realities he observed: poverty, corruption, and foreign dominance. His studies were not just academic, they shaped his worldview. Sankara's revolutionary consciousness grew. He saw himself as part of a movement for African unity and independence. The fire for change was lit within him. He knew he had to act. His education became the foundation for his future leadership. After secondary school, Sankara joined the military, a path for ambitious young men. In 1970, he won a scholarship to Madagascar's military academy. The rigorous training developed his discipline and leadership, but Madagascar was also in political turmoil. Sankara witnessed uprisings and learned the power of popular mobilization. He saw that ordinary people could shape their destiny. The academy's curriculum included agriculture, deepening his understanding of food production. These lessons would later influence his policies. His time in Madagascar solidified his revolutionary ideas. He returned to Upper Volta as both a soldier and a thinker. Sankara was ready to put his beliefs into action. Back in Upper Volta in 1973, Sankara quickly gained respect in the military. He was known for professionalism, fairness, and commitment. In 1974, he fought bravely in the Agadir Strip War with Mali, earning national recognition. His courage and leadership made him a hero. But Sankara stood out for more than battlefield exploits. He was incorruptible, living modestly and caring for his soldiers. His popularity grew among junior officers and ordinary troops. He listened to their concerns and shared their hardships. Sankara became a comrade, not just a commander. He began questioning the military hierarchy and government policies. He believed the country was heading in the wrong direction. Sankara connected with like-minded officers. Together they discussed the need for fundamental change. The seeds of revolution were being sown. In 1981, Sankara became Secretary of State for Information. He used his position to speak out against corruption and government waste. Sankara famously rode a bicycle to cabinet meetings, symbolizing his commitment to simplicity. He called for transparency and accountability from public servants. His actions inspired many but angered the establishment. In 1982, he resigned in protest, declaring, "Woe to those who gag the people." This bold move cemented his reputation as a man of principle. Sankara continued to criticize the government after his resignation. He and other progressive officers formed the Communist Officers Group. They weren't doctrinaire communists, but they wanted radical change. Together, they began planning for a new future for Upper Volta. Sankara's crusade against corruption was just beginning. Political turmoil continued to plague Upper Volta, creating an environment of instability and uncertainty. The existing government struggled to maintain control as various factions vied for power. The people of Upper Volta yearned for change, for a leader who could bring stability and progress to their nation. In 1982, amidst this climate of unrest, a military coup successfully ousted the existing leadership, bringing Major Jean-Baptiste Ouédraogo to power. The coup leaders promised a new direction for the country, hoping to address the deep-seated issues that had fueled the political instability. Hoping to consolidate his support and broaden his appeal, Ouédraogo made a strategic decision. He appointed the charismatic and popular Thomas Sankara as Prime Minister in 1983, a move that was initially met with cautious optimism by the public. Sankara, now in a position of influence, wasted no time in leveraging his new role. He used his position to travel extensively, both within Upper Volta and abroad, to deliver fiery speeches that resonated deeply with the masses. He used every opportunity to call for revolution, advocating for radical change and a complete overhaul of the existing political and economic systems. However, Sankara's increasingly radical rhetoric and his unwavering commitment to revolutionary ideals alarmed conservatives within the government and the established political order. His outspoken criticism of neocolonialism and his calls for self-reliance also raised concerns among foreign interests who had a vested stake in maintaining the status quo. As Sankara's popularity grew and his political agenda became more pronounced, tensions with President Ouédraogo inevitably escalated, creating a deep rift within the government. In a desperate attempt to regain control and silence his increasingly influential prime minister, Ouédraogo dismissed Sankara from his position and placed him under house arrest in May 1983. This act of political suppression backfired spectacularly as public anger erupted across the nation. Massive demonstrations erupted in Ouagadougou and other cities, with protesters demanding Sankara's immediate release from detention. His imprisonment, rather than diminishing his influence, inadvertently turned him into a martyr in the eyes of his supporters, solidifying his image as a champion of the people. The groundswell of support for Sankara galvanized his followers and transformed his political movement into a force to be reckoned with. The government, caught off guard by the intensity of the public response, had severely underestimated Sankara's widespread appeal and the depth of his support. On August 4, 1983, a date that would forever be etched in the history of Burkina Faso, Captain Blaise Compaoré, a close friend and ally of Sankara, launched a military coup to overthrow Ouedraogo's government. As part of the coup, Sankara was freed from house arrest, marking a pivotal moment in the country's history. Upon his release, Sankara addressed the nation in a televised broadcast that evening, outlining his vision for a new Upper Volta. In his address, he announced the formation of the National Council of the Revolution, a body that would serve as the foundation for a new revolutionary government. At just 33 years old, Thomas Sankara, the charismatic revolutionary, became president of Upper Volta, ushering in a new chapter in the nation's history. With Sankara at the helm, a new era had begun, filled with both hope and uncertainty. The revolution was now truly in motion, promising sweeping changes to the political, economic, and social landscape of Upper Volta. Sankara, with unwavering determination and a clear vision for the future, was ready to transform his country and lead his people towards a brighter tomorrow. As president, Thomas Sankara inherited a nation burdened by poverty and inequality. The hopes of a nation rested on his shoulders, a nation yearning for change and a brighter future. Sankara moved swiftly and decisively to reshape the nation, embarking on an ambitious program of reforms designed to uplift the Burkinabe people. His vision was clear: a self-reliant, prosperous, and just Burkina Faso. The National Council of the Revolution, or CNR, became the supreme authority, tasked with implementing Sankara's revolutionary agenda. It served as the engine for change, driving the nation towards a new destiny. In 1984, a symbolic yet powerful act took place. Upper Volta was renamed Burkina Faso. This new name, Burkina Faso, land of upright people, resonated deeply with the population. This renaming symbolized a definitive break from the colonial past, a rejection of the imposed identity, and a reclamation of their heritage. It ignited a sense of national pride and unity, fostering a collective identity among the Burkinabe people. Recognizing corruption as a major impediment to progress, Sankara launched an aggressive anti-corruption drive, targeting those who had enriched themselves at the expense of the nation. Popular revolutionary tribunals were established to try corrupt officials, holding them accountable for their actions and sending a clear message that impunity would no longer be tolerated. In a symbolic gesture of austerity and commitment to the people, he ordered the sale of luxury government cars, drastically reduced his own salary, and consistently led by example, demonstrating a commitment to selfless service. Food self-sufficiency became a top priority, aiming to break free from dependence on foreign aid and ensure that the nation could feed itself. The slogan, "Let us consume Burkinabe," became a rallying cry, promoting local products and industries. Campaigns were launched to promote local production, encouraging citizens to buy and support Burkinabe goods. Crucially, land reforms empowered peasants, giving them greater control over their livelihoods and the resources they needed to thrive. Significant investments were made in irrigation systems and agricultural training programs, which dramatically boosted cereal production and improved food security. Mass mobilization efforts focused on improving health outcomes, expanding access to education, and developing essential infrastructure across the country. These sweeping reforms ignited a sense of hope and national pride among the Burkinabe people, who saw in Sankara a leader who genuinely cared about their well-being. However, Sankara's radical policies inevitably created powerful enemies, both within and outside Burkina Faso. These included displaced elites, who resented the loss of their privileges, threatened business interests who feared the nationalization of key industries, and conservative leaders who opposed his progressive social agenda. Furthermore, some Western powers, wary of Sankara's socialist leanings, especially France, the former colonial power, viewed Sankara's outspoken anti-imperialist stance and his calls for African self-determination with growing suspicion and unease. The winds of change brought both immense hope for a better future, and mounting resistance from those who felt threatened by Sankara's revolutionary vision. Sankara's revolution inspired a nation to believe in itself and its potential, but ominous storms were gathering on the horizon, threatening to derail the progress that had been made. The struggle for a new Burkina Faso, a nation free from poverty, corruption, and foreign domination, had only just begun, and the challenges ahead were immense. The world was watching as Burkina Faso embarked on this bold experiment in self-reliance and social transformation.